Good evening. I'm going to try to do this without a mic, but if you can't hear me, just wave and I'll get up and move around there. I have a long script to read to you to make sure that I cover all the points. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Adrian, you started the recording, so we can move forward from here. So if you'll bear with me as I move through the script, and I will get started. Good evening. I now call this public hearing to order. My name is Pat Harris, and I'm a member of the North Carolina Environmental Management Commission. The acronym is EMC, so you'll hear me use that quite a bit. I've been designated by the chair of the EMC as the hearing officer for this evening's hearing. I'd like to take this opportunity to notify everyone that this hearing and all comments are being recorded for the official record. This public hearing and comment period are being held in accordance with the Federal Water Pollution Control Act, or the Clean Water Act, which requires states at least every 3 years to review and revise water quality standards to protect aquatic life and human health. The process is called the triennial review and includes an assessment and revision of the uses of waters, also known as classifications, and the water quality criteria known as standards, which are based on the uses. More specifically, this public hearing and comment period is being held to address the potential assignment of the high-quality water classification and outstanding resource water classification to select streams in the Watauga River Basin for the purpose of protecting the uses of these waters. If approved, this proposal will result in changing the management strategy that applies to the waters and watersheds. This hearing is also being held under the authority of North Carolina General Statutes 143-215.3 and 150B-21.2. In accordance with these general statutes, a public notice of this hearing was published in the March 1, 2023 edition of the North Carolina Register. A hearing announcement was sent to the following state entities: the Environmental Management and Wildlife Resources Commissions, the Division of Water Resources Biological Assessment Branch, Classification, Standards, and Rules Review Branch, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Permitting Branch, Basin Planning Branch, the Division of Energy, Mineral, and Land Resources, the Division of Parks and Recreation, the Natural Heritage Program, and the Department of Transportation. Others who received the hearing announcement included planning staffs of Watauga and Avery counties and the towns of Seven Devils and Banner Elk. In addition, Mountain True, Valley Cruces Community Park, a private citizen who teaches biology at Appalachian State University, the National Park Service, and the Environmental Protection Agency received notices. The hearing announcement was sent to all subscribers of a statewide email listserv for people interested in becoming aware of the Division of Water Resources rulemaking announcements. The North Carolina's Department of Environmental Quality posted the announcement on its public notices and hearings and proposed rules web pages. The North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality also released a statement about this hearing to the press. The purpose of today's hearing is to obtain public comments on the proposed high-quality waters reclassification for 4 streams and a proposed outstanding resources waters classification for 7 streams in the Watauga River Basin. In a moment, Adrian Weaver, a member of the Division of Water Resources Classification, Standards, and Rules Review Branch, will present an explanation of these proposed reclassifications for you. The notice of this public hearing that was published in the North Carolina Register included text of the proposed rule for these reclassifications. This notice included the proposed rule language, is available at the registration table. The intent of this hearing is to solicit your comments on the proposed reclassifications, including any potential impacts of the reclassifications to inform a regulatory impact analysis of this action. A written report of this hearing will be prepared that will include all relevant comments, questions, and discussions. For this reason, this hearing is being recorded. Written comments will be accepted up to and including May 1st, 2023, which is the day the comment period ends. All comments will also be included as part of the record. Based on the public comments, the applicable North Carolina general statutes and administrative code and discussions with Division of Water Resources staff, I will make a recommendation to the EMC. The recommendation may be to adopt the proposed reclassifications, to adopt a modified version of the proposal, or to take no action. The EMC will make its decision by considering my recommendation, the written record, and the input of other EMC members. The EMC may adopt my recommendation, modify it, or reject it. However, if the EMC wishes to adopt a rule that differs substantially from what has been published in the North Carolina Register and as presented this evening, that rule must be republished for public review and comment prior to the EMC approval. So at this time, let's see, I want to make sure I recognize some folks here in the audience. I don't think we have any public officials, so I will move on to the members of the Division of Water Resources that are present tonight. I ask that they stand briefly so you can see them as their name is called. The Director of Staff, Michael Pajetra. There we go. Water Planning Section Chief, Karen Higgins. And then additional staff, you'll hear from Adrian Weaver, Paul Wojcicki, where's Paul? I think he might be outside, and Peter Jones. So at this point, I will now ask Adrian Weaver to present an overview of the proposed reclassification.
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. Good evening and welcome. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I am Adrian Weaver. I am an environmental specialist for the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, Division of Water Resources. And my responsibility, one of my primary responsibilities with the department is to carry the surface water or manage the surface water reclassifications for the state. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to go over the high quality waters and outstanding resource waters reclassifications for 11 streams in the Watauga River Basin, and they include Watauga County and Davie County. Okay. So here's a list of topics that I'm going to cover to help you understand the proposal. I'm going to start out with a highlight of the federal authority for surface water standards, water quality standards that is. I'm going to provide information to you on the state surface water classification and water quality standards program. I will go over with you, I will walk you through the state's surface water reclassification process, and I will report the regulatory impact analysis findings related to the reclassification proposals. So I want to start out a little bit just kind of highlighting the federal authority for water quality standards programs. Under Section 303 of the Clean Water Act, it authorizes states to develop a water quality standards program. In the next slide, I will go over the definition of what water quality standards are. But the purpose of the water quality standards is to fulfill the Clean Water Act Section 101 goals, as you see there, to restore and maintain the integrity, the water quality conditions of waters, and to achieve a level of water quality that provides protection for aquatic life and recreation. And this is a collaborative type of program in that the EPA, that is the federal agency that is responsible for managing the Clean Water Act, works with states and tribal water quality standards programs to help them achieve the 101 goals. EPA's requirements and procedures for establishing water quality standards are set in 40 CFR Part 131, And so we talk about water quality standards. The purpose of the standards are simply to protect the uses of the waters. And what do we mean by uses? They are the goals of a water body or the function or the activity in the water body. that's supported by a certain level of water quality. And so what we do is we identify the uses for the waters, and we go ahead and classify the waters based on those uses. And then we develop water quality criteria to protect those uses. This state has two classification categories for surface freshwaters. The first is the primary classification. We also have supplemental classifications. I see that some of you have picked up our guide to surface freshwater classifications. They have the descriptions of those classifications for the state. All surface waters in North Carolina are classified for their uses. The most basic classification is for fresh waters, that is Class C, which protects for aquatic life, and secondary contact recreation. For instance, you're boating, you're wading in the water, whatnot. There are other primary classifications that we recognize. The other would be a Class B, which is protected for primary contact recreation, swimming, and it also needs to protect for Class C uses as well. We have 5 water supply classifications. You see them right there. WS1 through WS4, they protect for public water supply. WS5, it can be used to be a source of water supply for industry's employees. So those are our 5 water supply classifications. And here we have our supplemental classifications, and they can be added to the primary classifications. All our waters need to have a primary classification assigned to them, but we have these supplemental classifications that can be added to the primary classification of a water to provide additional protection for special uses and values. For instance, we have a supplemental trout classification. Some of the waters up here, I think, do carry that designation. I will talk about the HQW and the ORW classifications in the next few slides. Okay, so this is what everybody's here for. So I'm going to give you a little bit of education. You may know this, but just humor me. So we have high quality waters. Those are waters with quality higher than the minimum state water quality standards. And the minimum state water quality standards are the Class C the Class C water quality standards. So also classes WS1 and WS2 per 15 NCA 02B.0224 are considered HQW waters. HQW waters may also be waters that are designated as primary nursery areas or other functional nursery areas designated by state's Marine Fishery Commission or the Wildlife Resources Commission. Okay, so we have the outstanding resource classification. And to be classified as an outstanding resource, you need to meet 2 conditions, or the water would need to meet 2 conditions. It needs to have excellent water quality based on a characteristic, and you see them there, biological, chemical, or physical, and they must be of exceptional state and national recreational or ecological significance. In addition, waters must have at least one of these resource values up here on the screen. This demonstrates that they are ecologically, recreationally significant. So that's the other condition for an outstanding resource water, to beat at least one of those values. Here is a table that compares the water quality protection requirements for the current classification and the proposed classifications of the water that are involved in this reclassification proposal. The table shows that there are certain requirements to protect excellent water quality in HPW waters. To name a few, for HPW waters, in the third row, there's no discharges for new single-family residents allowed. Wastewater dischargers have to adhere to stricter treatment standards. That is for new and expanded dischargers. There are more stringent erosion and sediment controls that would apply versus what you would see with the existing classification that's associated with these waters. And there's also a density development option, and that is to control stormwater runoff from new development. So you get those protections with the HQW classification. For the ORW classification, as far as for the wastewater discharges, known discharges or expansions of existing discharges are allowed in an ORW watershed. And just like the HQW areas, you have more stringent erosion and sediment controls, and you have that density development option to control stormwater runoff from new development projects in those ORW areas. Okay, so we've talked about the state surface water classification and standards program a little bit, and we've talked about the HQW and ORW classifications. Now I'm going to walk you through the state's general process for all surface water classifications across the state. The process takes typically 2 years. If a water body that is requested for a classification change, that water body would need to be studied to determine if it meets the classifications requested for it. There is a fiscal analysis and a regulatory impact analysis component. The latter term is used when you have no substantial economic impact from the proposed reclassification. The proposed reclassifications come to the Water Quality Committee, and if they receive a recommendation as to the classification to be applied to the water body under consideration, and decides whether or not to approve the classification recommended for that water. If the EMC approves that recommendation, the EMC will initiate proceedings to make that classification change. The proposed reclassification goes through a public notice and hearing process. A report of proceedings, as Commissioner Harris had said in her speech, is prepared. The proposed rule changes related to the reclassification proposals go to the next legislative session if at least 10 people object to it. They send they write to the Rules Review Commission, and they express an objection to the proposed reclassification. Okay? So, there are 4 streams and 7 streams that the Environmental Management Commission is considering for the HQW classification and the ORW classification, respectively. Both of these sets of reclassifications have been supported by excellent water quality that was revealed for these waters from a 2020 DWR water quality study. So it supports it. The resource values in 7 of the 11 streams that are nominated for either classification, you see in the blue You see the ORW values. You see some of them have been designated as public mountain trout waters, or a portion of their streams has that designation. Some of those waters serve as habitat for rare species, aquatic insects. Some of those waters are components of the state park. So you see at least one of those values, or ORW values, or those resource values, are exhibited in the streams, in the ORW, the streams nominated for the ORW classification. Okay, so we did a regulatory impact analysis on this, and we did it because there's no substantial economic impact that was projected from this proposed reclassification. And what we found was that the proposed reclassification would only impact the state. If you're not familiar with our surface water classifications map, we do have one on our website. It provides classification information on all the named streams. And if these reclassifications on these waters were to be approved, then we would have to update that map. And that's where the cost comes in. So, and I thought pictures would be good. Put smiles on your faces. And so these are 11 streams, photos of 7 other portions of those 7 streams that are up for reclassification consideration for either an HQW or ORW reclassification. As you can see, they're not just in all Watauga County, there's some in Avery County. So I thought that would be nice for you folks to see that. And I will end with this, is that if you would like more classification information, you can go to our website, and under these headings you will find such information. I will let you know this, that it is always good to confirm with the Classification and Standards Rules Review Branch on that information. If you take that information from these resources, please confirm that information with myself or other folks in the Classification and Standards Rules Review Branch. If you are interested in submitting written comments today up until the end of May 1st, 2023, you may do so via the email address on there or the mailing address. And that is my presentation. I thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here. I will close at that.
All right, thank you, Adrian. Okay. All right, the EMC is very interested in all comments pertaining to the proposed reclassifications, whether they are in favor of or opposed to the proposed reclassifications and the regulatory impact analysis. All interested and potentially affected persons or parties are encouraged to make comments on the proposals presented today. Please note that your comments enable the EMC to act in the best interest of the public. Now, let me go through the procedure for this evening. I will call all the speakers in the order that I received them. When your name is called, please come up to the microphone and clearly and slowly state your name and any affiliation with the organization you may be representing. If you have written copies of your comments, we would greatly appreciate receiving a copy of those. Please also remember that the intent of this hearing is to solicit your comments on the proposed reclassifications and impact analysis. It is important that you keep your comments concise and relevant to the proposed reclassifications and impact analysis. We may question speakers, if necessary, to clarify or learn more about matters as they arise, but cross-examination of speakers will not be allowed. After all registered speakers have had an opportunity to comment, anyone who did not register to speak will have the opportunity to comment at that time. Please remember that the Division of Water Resources staff will be available after the hearing to address any questions or concerns that you may have. So at this time, we would like to hear from those in attendance who have indicated on their sign-in sheet that they wish to comment. I will be imposing a time limit. Generally, I do 3, but we're going to push it to 8. We don't have that many. And if there is a hardship and you don't get it done in 8, when we come back around, you'll have an opportunity to finish it out if you can't do it in that 8 minutes. A staff member of the Division of Water Resources will be timing the comments and will hold up a sign indicating when you have 1 minute left to speak. And I guess is that you, Adrian, that
Yes.
will let them know? Okay.
Yeah.
So we appreciate your cooperation. So I'm going to botch this first name right out of the gate. Name. 4 dice.
Yeah, good.
Wow. Yay. All right. And on deck I have Charlie Brady. 2 D's on D's. Gotcha.
Howdy. I'll keep this very concise. My name is Nate Fordyce. I'm a fly fishing guide here in the High Country. I work for High Country Guide Service and Boone's Fly Shop, and I rely on outstanding water quality and biodiversity as my main means of income. That's really all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Bradley.
I'm Charlie Brady. I live in Boone. I'm the executive director of Blue Ridge Conservancy, but I'm here speaking individually tonight. But I'm generally supportive of any reclassification that upgrades water quality in North Carolina, and so these specific proposals fit right in that line of my thinking. But specifically, those reclassifications that drain into Crab Orchard Creek, Dutch Creek, Green Ridge Branch, those streams feed the area in Valley Crucis, which is a conservation priority area for Blue Ridge Conservancy, and we've preserved and protected over 1,000 acres there. We bought the land that was transferred to state parks for Bear Paw State Natural Area, so part of these streams are from that. So these reclassifications would strengthen the protection of water quality and the land protection qualities that are in that area. So I'm definitely in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Andy Hill.
Hello. Hello. I don't think I'm going to use the mic. My name is Andy Hill. I'm your Watauga Riverkeeper and High Country Regional Director of Mountain True. I'm a resident of Watauga County. I live on tributary of the Watauga called Baird's Creek. Thank you so much, Commissioner Harris, for coming, and thank you to all the DEQ staff, Division of Water Resources, for all their hard work preparing for this hearing, and thank you for holding it here in the High Country. Really appreciate it. We are in favor and full support of this proposal. We're very grateful you're seeking to protect this outstanding resource and high quality waters. We think it's very important to protect the biodiversity of the area for both ecological health, but also to support recreation, the educational opportunities these streams afford, lasting conservation value, as well as the benefits the tourism economy, recreational based economy, and educational economy of the area. Thank you so much for putting this together. And we'll submit more detailed written comments as well.
Thank you.
And thank you to the members of the public for coming too.
Absolutely. Shay? Tuberty. Sorry.
Get the first one out. That's easy. My name is Shay Tuberty. I am representing unofficially the biology department at App State. Officially, I'm a 21-year holdout here in the high country, and like many folks in the audience, a lover of fresh water for many reasons. I am in practice, a aquatic ecotoxicologist and aquatic ecologist. I spend a lot of my time in streams, getting to know them intimately, and training students on how to evaluate them, many of which have gone on to work for DEQ or river keepers. And so why I want to be here, and I also want to thank you, as Andy did, for being here and making it easy for us to attend. But obviously the recreational use of these high quality waters and outstanding resource waters is significant, both for the local residents who overwhelmingly support conservation efforts at any chance. It's one of the things that unites the people of the high country. But these streams are also really, really important in supporting very rare aquatic life in these designated areas, and they both are protected in both the designated areas, but also they're feeding important larvae and adult populations downstream, in some cases mitigating impacts from development that have occurred already. I've spent a lot of time trying to understand just how important high quality waters are to mitigating impacted waters. And although I can't put a finger on it yet, I know that miles and miles of high quality water can make up miles and miles of overdeveloped areas. So these areas are very important where they're placed. The development isn't too high density yet downstream. As Charlie mentioned, there's been a lot of effort to conserve these places, add to the conservation areas already done, and I think reclassifying them would put both protect and enhance the past and the future conservation efforts of these communities. But finally, I want to mention that the educational uses of these things are not insignificant. There are many outreach effects or events held here in the high country for our K through 12 students in the high country, so that would be the 5 counties surrounding us, but also others come from far and wide to attend these educational outreach events. Not the least of which was just held on campus here at App State, where in the past we've had as many as 2,500 students attend. We're taking aquatic insects, salamanders, crawfish, fish, and trying to get the kids not to try to pet them, but to understand why they're useful for identifying water quality. And that's exactly why we're here. It's because we found rare species in these places and we want to protect them. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you guys didn't get close to 8 minutes. So before I open it up, do any of the first 4 speakers have anything they want to add to what they've already commented on? I'm going to open it up one more time to the first 4. Everybody good?
Good.
Everybody's good. All right, so I'll open it up now to the general public, people who have not signed up. Now's your opportunity to come forward and give us your comments about the proposed reclassifications. Okay.
Hello, my name is Alex Dale. I am the owner of Boone's Fly Shop and Fosco Fishing Company. I am in favor of the proposed requalifications, as they tell me that there's a movement to maintain the means that I can make a living, as well as a few folks that are in this room to do the same. It's also, the same movement that allows me to believe that we can have places for my children and I to recreate. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Hayden Cheek, and I am a fly fishing guide in this area and depend on these resources. And as a guide, we get a really cool opportunity to educate folks and teach people that aren't from this area. And I'm really excited to talk to them about reclassifications of streams that we are actually on, which would be really cool. And so I'm excited to talk to them about stuff that I'm learning tonight. So very in favor for it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Hannah Woodburn, and I'm the Watershed Outreach Coordinator for Mountain True. I am in favor of the reclassification because, as many people here have discussed, the rivers and streams are really something that makes the high country special and supports an incredible amount of biodiversity, and some of that endemic, which means we can find it nowhere else in the world except for here. And so for that reason, I think that protecting these areas and these watersheds from future development is probably the best thing that we can do for water quality in our region, both for now, but also for future generations to enjoy the precious resources that we have here. So thank you, and I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? All right, I see none. So, let me go back to my script real quick. Anyway, I'd like to thank all of you for your comments and your interests, and I'm going to add in for what you do. It is greatly appreciated. So, the hearing record will remain open until May 1st, 2023. This means that any time between today and May 1, anyone can submit written comments to Ms. Adrienne Weaver at the address on the public announcement available at the registration table, and I believe her information is on the screen as well. And these written comments will be made part of the public record. As I mentioned earlier, after the comment period ends, I, as the hearing officer, will review all the comments, prepare a report of proceedings, including all the comments, and make a recommendation to the Environmental Management Commission for their review and decision. If approved, the estimated effective date for the final rule pursuant to this hearing process is September 1st, 2023. So before I end here, I would like to thank, on behalf of the North Carolina Environmental Management Commission, the following entities that provided information or map displays for the proposed reclassification areas that were necessary to prepare reclassifications proposal you just heard about. The various divisions of water resources branches, biological assessment, classification and standards, MPDES water quality permitting, and basin planning. North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. Okay. All right, I'm going to North Carolina Natural Heritage Program, the planning staff of Watauga County and Avery County and the towns of Seven Devils and Banner Elk, the North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation, the National Park Service, North Carolina Office of State Budget Management, and the DEQ Creative Services. So I think we have one more person or two more that would like to make a comment. So if you'll come up to the podium, state your name, if you're representing any organizations, and I've posed an 8-minute limit. So if you need more than that, you got to let me know that too. So right here at the podium with the microphone. Thank you.
My name is Sky Chris Potgeeter. I work for High Country Guide Service in Boone's Fly Shop. I don't have much to say, but I think it is very important that we try to protect these resources, not only for recreation, but because why not? This is the stuff that we have that's been doing its thing for hundreds of thousands of years. So it's something to be thought about, and I'm glad that we're talking about it. So thanks for having us.
Thank you.
My name is Colin Chris Potgeeter. I'm a guide for Boone's Fly Shop, and I don't have much to say either. I'm a little unprepared, quite honestly. But as far as the water quality goes, and high water quality in the area, I think it's crucial as far as people being able to swim in it, and that's something we allow sorry, can't think of the word. Encourage to people to do in the summer, and I think a lot of people actually do come up here to go swimming, and high water quality includes the absence of E. coli and other sorts of things in the water, and not to mention our precious trout that support some of our careers and livelihoods. But yeah, I think that's my say on it, at least.
Thank you. Okay, last call for the podium. Last call. Make sure we get all the comments in. All right, with that, I thank you for your attendance tonight. This hearing is hereby closed.